Alrighty, guys and girls, we are coming to you here live. We are going to wait for this audience to build up. It is a Sunday night rant. It is that time of the week. And you're looking at this guy. You have no idea who he is, but you will within the next few moments. Guys and girls, I'm letting you know today as people come on, good to see you, Andrew. Let's get this audience to build up. We are at a property called Karkula, which is in the Blue Mountains, in specifically Blackheath. And Con, you said to me 1 minute before we came on air, what does Karkula mean? What does Karkula mean?
It means eucalypt in an Aboriginal dialect.
Eucalypt?
As in the eucalypt tree.
Okay.
Right.
And hey, good to see you all. And I was about to say, guys and girls, and I've been told by a very prominent real estate agent owner here, but it can't be confirmed. So all I'm saying to you is, you can't come back and say, but I'm wrong, that this property was in fact owned by the Fairfax family. And that may not be 100% certain, but most likely is. I've also got with me Alan Gregory and Peter Torek from Ray White at Blackheath in this great part of this world. For many of you, you don't know this, but this part of the world's got a special spot in my heart because I had family that set up a cafe here about 35 years ago. And what I used to do is come here for my holidays and help them. Typical Greeks, they owned a milk bar and I used to work in that milk bar. And Alan, you might be able to, do you remember if it was called the Paragon? No. The Wattle Cafe. The Wattle Cafe and Spiro and Jill, who are my cousins, still live in Blackheath. And today, what are we going to cover? I said to you I was going to give you one more tip on the heads up, and here is the tip. Have you ever actually thought about it? If you showed up to let's assume you did an open for inspection on Saturday, and a buyer came back and said, I want to have a look during the week. Why wouldn't you organise, when you made that second appointment with a buyer at 4 o'clock, why wouldn't you organise a 4:15 appointment with a buyer afterwards? And I'll tell you why. Because what it does is when you go there at 4 o'clock and you've got a buyer waiting at 4:15, there's a law of social proof that says if someone else is looking at it, it means it must be good. And I'm not saying you create a fictitious buyer, but and by the way, it's a bloody good time management strategy, because if you've got another buyer there, like you can do 2 buyers in 15 minutes, you've already left the office anyway. But more importantly, what it does is it says to the buyer as they leave the property and they see the other person waiting, there's a chance that they might go for the property as well. And that's what I use the term be a deal maker, not an order taker. Deal makers are always trying to apply the laws of influence. Now, today we are going to go through, by the book, The Influence by Robert Cialdini, fantastic book. Every person, whether you're selling loans, selling real estate, whether you're selling pharmaceutical products, whether this guy here...
And Pre-Suasion as well, his other book.
Pre-Suasion?
Pre-Suasion is another book.
So let's talk about Pre-Suasion.
Pre-Suasion and influence, which are fantastic.
Okay, so Pre-Suasion, my understanding, Con, and we haven't even introduced you yet, but we're going to
I'll just sit here like a shag on a rock.
Right? No. We're gonna tell people who you are.
Feelings of inadequacy have crept in now. No, it's fine. I made him laugh.
I like you already. Anyway, hey Yogi. So Pre-Suasion. Yep. What's the basis of Pre-Suasion?
I don't know.
Okay,
but I'm glad you asked that question because I know what the basis of persuasion is.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what Pre-Suasion is. Pre-Suasion is this. What is it that you can do before an event to actually influence the event? Example, do you send out a short 60-second video before the appointment that says, I'm Peter Torok, this is what I do, this is how I do it, and this is what I've done in the last 6 months. And by the way, have a listen to 3 or 4 people that have actually experienced what I'm talking about. That video is called Pre-Suasion. In real estate, we call it pre-listing kits. But I'd go as far as saying in the world that we live in, it's all Pre-Suasion. People are doing a digital interview on before they meet you. That's Pre-Suasion. Can I say to you, everything you do at an open for inspection is Pre-Suasion, because people have walked into the open, sussed you out, said, hey, I like the way these guys do their opens. So what happens is when they call you in, they have already been persuaded. So I want to ask you this question.
Do you see what I did there, though, incidentally? I allowed him the space to flourish and to persuade all of you to buy Robert Cialdini's book. It's a great book. Very good. Now you can introduce me.
You are very likable.
Thank you.
Okay.
I love you too, Tom.
Okay.
As do the people out there.
So what I find, so by the way, guys, I've come here to Blackheath because I'm chilling out. I wanted a bit of time to get away. I've did 210 speaking engagements. I've done about 350 auctions. I've done the work that I do for the News Corporation and all the content that I do for the real estate gym members, and I needed a bit of time to chill out. There is no better place to chill out than the Blue Mountains. And while I was here, I ran into a guy who runs a business called the Stray Whisker. And the Stray Whisker, what is the Stray Whisker?
It's an online grooming.
By the way, you have got a Stray Whisker.
Well, this is why I did it. It's all a prop, of course. But see what it does? It gives you material. The Stray Whisker is an online shop that sells grooming supplies, shaving cream, aftershaves, colognes, razors, traditional razors, of course.
But to me, everything you've just mentioned, I reckon you just go into Coles and buy it.
You could. And everything you just buy from Coles ends up in landfill. If you buy a cartridge razor, what do? You just throw it out once you're done with it, right?
That matters to you?
It matters to all of us, my friend. Landfill matters to all of us, because if landfill was managed properly, we wouldn't have cracking towers down in a certain suburb.
Okay. But I'm more fascinated.
It's controversial.
I want to ask you, you're an inner west boy.
Yes.
Right? An inner west boy.
Yes.
That leaves the inner west.
Yes.
Escapes, would you call it escape the rat race?
That's a cliche, Tom. But yes, I have moved away from that hustle and bustle, because I wanted to leave the din, the noise, right? And in doing so, it helped me with my business, which is counterintuitive, I know.
Correct, because you'd think to yourself, you escaped, which meant that there was less people to work, that you go into chill mode, but it's helped your business.
Yeah.
So have you gone into chill mode?
I've gone into reframing mode. I've reframed how I see things. If you're in the middle of a very, very busy urban centre, and there's nothing wrong with that, I grew up in it, and I still go there.
Right.
Every 7 to 10 days, I'm back in Sydney. But if you're in the centre of that, you can't get any perspective because you're in it. You have to leave it to have a look at it. This is what you did today. You left Sydney to come up here for some rest and recreation, but I guarantee you that the ideas that are going through his head at the moment, you're flourishing, I can see it.
Yeah.
You're not really resting here. I can see it. There's all these ideas that are exploding in your head, but they're exploding at a different tempo. Up here is about tempo. It's about reframing the things. Are there business people up here? Of course there are. Are there people conducting commerce? Of course. But they do it at a different tempo. And that is perceived sometimes as slow or, not part of the rat race. Look, it's competitive here as well.
Well, listen, I have to say to you, Con, I've always been a person that I'm a curious person, and meditation, everyone would talk about it, right? And I was persuaded by the fact that Jesus Christ, Buddha, Muslims,
Marcus Aurelius,
Seneca, every philosophers for thousands of years,
the Stoics,
Stoics have said having time in silence retreating, moving away from being reachable all the time, having an opportunity to think about what you think, so you actually are a witness to your thoughts. And what you've said to me is, by coming here, you could actually step out and have a look and have a better helicopter view of...
In silence, in a different type of silence though, right? Because absolute silence will drive you insane.
Right.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about when I say silence. It's not what's happening down in Sydney. It's a totally different silence. But it allows you to reframe the question. And that question should be, how can I better serve the people that come to me for advice, or to have a problem solved, or to have a question answered? How do I serve those people better? If you're in that rat race that you call, that bouncing around with all these people, you're doing what everyone else is doing. You have to distinguish yourself in some way. There has to be some point of difference.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. You say that your business, you got an online business?
Online business, yes. And so online, this environment has allowed me to go online and do what I do, because I can still conduct business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in a frictionless, as much as possible, environment. No friction between me and the customer.
No
I don't
friction?
stand in their way.
Right.
They jump online, they have a look at it, at what it is they want to buy, on thestraightwhisker.com.au, by the way, check it out. And then they say, right, I might look at this, and they'll look at it at 7 p.m, and they say, oh, I've got to go and have some dinner. So they'll go and have some dinner, and they'll come back at it at 10:30 and look again, and I'll say, I'm thinking I might just pull the trigger on this particular aftershave. It looks good. And they'll buy it at 10:30. At 10:30.
So what you're saying,
or 11 or 12.
But Con, what you're saying to me is, make it easy for the consumer
absolutely.
to do business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So guys and girls watching this video, what does it mean if you're in real estate? Make it easy to do business? How about this? How about you have a pest and building inspection available on all your properties that can be downloaded? That's frictionless. How about you did this? What if you turned around and you actually said that I'll make it easy for people to do business with me. They can sign by either DocuSign or Adobe. And by the way, I'm not product pushing here. I've got no allegiance to any of those products. But I know clearly that someone would rather just go off, print something off, sign it, sorry, not print it off, sign it electronically, right? So that's a very good point. Are you the person that makes it easier than any of your competitors to do business with you?
You should be striving for that, absolutely.
And what can I ask you, what have you learned as an online business owner?
That human behaviour can't be fit into some sort of cookie cutter approach. People are very, very different, and they make purchasing decisions based on a number of factors which you can't pin down, you can't pinpoint. I know that there are algorithms and there are companies that have managed to track and see what consumer behaviour is about. But at the end of the day, the customer makes a decision, or chooses not to, for their own very specific reasons.
Right.
Okay. And so this is why a lot of these companies have tried to tailor, advertising to be put in front of people's eyes when they're surfing the net or doing whatever they're doing. But I found that if you've got to be able to, we've heard this before, solve a problem or answer a question for a customer. You asked me, why should I go and buy stuff from you when I can go to Woolies or Coles and get a disposable razor? And I said to you that one of the reasons, it's not the key reason, but it's very important, is that the stuff just ends up in landfill. It's more plastic. The other is, it's better for your skin. You get a better shave out of it. The other thing is, it's a return to first principles. It's going back to the way we used to do things.
Why? How's that?
Okay. Well,
how did we do things?
We used to take a brush and soap and swirl it around and lather on our face and take a razor and shave. Women, the number of... My business is growing exponentially with women. Women are using these products, these seemingly manly products, in other words, a proper traditional safety razor, to shave their legs and armpits and whatever else they're shaving these days.
Can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Real estate agents...
Yes.
Shaved or unshaved?
Okay.
What's your thing?
My thing is, no cookie cutter approach. if the 3 or 4 day
There's
growth...
Josh Tesselin's watching this.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? And Tane Jane's just watching us.
Yeah.
He's wearing a beard, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about this look about these real estate agents, right, that have got beards?
Okay. Firstly, context is everything, right? If I'm in an environment, or if I'm in an area where people have a higher than average disposable income, and those people are dealing with me on a professional basis, then I need to, if I'm going to have a beard, then I better have it well groomed, right? You can have a beard and still look well groomed.
Okay, how do you make a beard well groomed?
Okay, well, firstly, I mean, if you're going to leave it 3 or 4 days, yeah. So what do you do?
So am I bad now? Like,
you could be a little bit better, Tom.
You could be.
Come on.
Okay, so tell me, like what?
I would probably work a little bit under the chin there. Just remove a little bit of those whiskers and just use a trimmer and keep it at a number 2 or number 1 and just do it all the time. And that's it. But stick to that.
Right.
If you're going to shave, shave.
Right.
If you're going to let it grow, let it grow. If you're going to wear a tie, wear a tie. If you're not going to wear... In other words, there's no cookie cutter approach. I don't believe in these formulaic answers. Yes, all real estate agents must wear ties. Yes, they have to shave. Wear what you wear, but wear it well.
Do you think my auction business would be at a higher level, not whether it's bookings or reputation or anything, if I wore a tie?
No.
Why?
Because you bring you to the equation. You're solving a problem at that point in time. Right. The agent has asked you to come in and facilitate the sale of this property.
Right.
You can facilitate the sale with or without a tie. You can facilitate the sale with or without a beard. But what you do is you wear it with confidence. And
that's 100% right. I want to feel good. That's the main thing. I want to feel good. I want to feel good. And I tell you what, when I feel good, I'm better.
Yeah.
When I've got a tie, I'll tell you what it is, Con. When I've got a tie, I feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I reckon it comes across. But you can feel comfortable with a tie.
Look, in a previous life, when I was working, working as a school teacher, I had to wear a tie, and what I found was that I'd keep wearing out my collars. They'd wear out because I'd wear this tie, and because I didn't like shaving, it was uncomfortable. Right. I'd get scuffed, and my shirts would last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, and I'd have to throw them out because they'd all get worn out. So I preferred not wearing a tie, but I had to wear a tie in that professional environment. The answer was to find a better way to shave. For me, this is for me. Again, I don't want to provide formulas or things like that, but I found that in shaving properly, in shaving it the way my father used to shave, right? What was wrong with the way they shaved? I could then do up a shirt and not worry that I was going to wreck the bloody shirt.
Can I ask you,
yes,
has your business, now I'm thinking about it, has your business been negatively impacted because people have beards now?
No. It has been positively impacted by broadening the scope of services that we provide. We now sell beard oils, beard shampoos, beard brushes. So if you're bearded or unbearded, we can cater for you.
There's a guy that's just said, tried growing a beard, taken 3 years, and no one knows I'm trying.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Today, you came in here. We weren't even going to do a video.
We weren't.
It was a brain explosion that I had.
It was.
You brought 3 books here. Yes. Why would you bring 3 books? Let's talk. Why did you bring? You brought.
Okay. So firstly,
by the way, let's go through the.
Before we go into that.
Yeah.
I'm not in real estate, but I watch your content.
Right.
Why do I watch your? What could I possibly get out of the real estate gym?
Right.
What? I'll tell you what. What you do is applicable across not only business, but in a broader way in life. Okay? And that is the enthusiasm that you bring to the people, the value that you bring to the people that follow you and consume your content. And that's very, very important. And because we said that we were going to meet up, I thought I'll bring a couple of books, and I know that your people always like to say, what's the takeaway from this particular rant tonight? You know, what can we share with the people? And I knew that you were going to ask me, what are the 3 books that you would recommend to people?
Alrighty.
Why does he do that?
Say it again. Sorry, Con.
It's all right.
Say it again. Anyway, so let's go through these 3 books.
Hey, John.
Let's go through the 3 books. Let's go through this one. I mean, this is the cliche book of cliche books.
Yeah.
Right? How to win friends and influence people.
The title is problematic, Tom. It's very problematic. Who wants to win friends? Who wants to win friends? You don't win friends.
Yeah, win sounds like they hate me.
Yeah,
I'm
putting it over
them and get them.
Exactly. This is about conversations. This book is about relationships, how you establish relationships with people. Okay. Influence also has a very, very negative connotation because people think, oh, he's influencing you. He's somehow pulling the wool over your eyes. It's not about that. It's about avoiding conflicts, handling conversations that I'm sure all of us have in business from time to time. You're going to get the odd angry customer. It's a fact of life. You need to understand that they're coming from a totally different perspective to what you're coming from. You're there, so it's a kind of a defense-offense kind of scenario, and that's very, very dangerous for business. In fact, it's dangerous for all relationships, in business or out of business. So I think Dale Carnegie is probably a good book to read.
This is the first book I read when I sort of finished formal education and I went into personal development. And never forget this, Jim Rohn said it. School is going to make you a living. Personal development is going to make you a fortune. And this was the first book I read outside of school. Yeah. How to win friends and influence people. And I'll never forget it. And believe it or not, I used the principle on Saturday. There was a section in this book where Dale Carnegie went to a function.
Yep.
He never said a single word.
Yes.
And the person that walked away said, I really enjoyed talking to Dale. He's an amazing conversationalist. Yeah. And he had never said a word. Basically what they're saying is, if you're a super listener, people are going to think you're a super communicator. Yeah. On Saturday at 4 o'clock, the auction was in Cardigan Street, Stanmore. I spent 10 minutes talking to a bidder before the auction. And at the end of it, I haven't said a word. They told me all about their life from Luton and blah, blah, blah. Alan Gregory sitting here is from Luton. And at the end of it, they said to me, blah, 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 did this. I haven't said a word. And then, Con, I just said, would you mind if you're the first bidder today? And she said, I'll do that for you. Wow. And she was the first bidder, and she bid within 1 second of me calling for bids. And I've got to tell you, if you're an auctioneer, you hate not getting a bid for 3 minutes. The first bid's the hardest bid. You get a bidder on the bus, you get the bidder happening. And that's why I'm saying to anyone that's watching this here, be very careful of rejecting bids. Because when you reject a bid, you're taking someone that was getting on the bus to not get on the bus. And I'm telling you, once you have someone on the bus, you can actually drive the bus. And I'm telling you straight, the first bid's the hardest bid. And I've got to say that I learned that, and I've got to get better at it because I was really good at it. I used to sit there and listen to someone for 10 minutes, and I realized that people love talking to people that listen to them.
Yes, of course.
Correct?
That's right.
Now, I want to talk about the second book.
Before we do, though, there was a comment made, quite a few comments before, that said this title is dated, and I have to agree with them. It's dated in the context of how we would have... I mean, if this were written today, would it be written How to Win Friends and Influence People? I mean, this sounds like it's a book for losers, but it isn't, because there are gems in here. Disregard the title. Look at what it says. Go for the content. I agree with you. It does sound dated.
And you know
what? And be yourself. Forget whether you go bearded or unbearded, as long as the beard's nice and, presentable.
What he's basically saying is the packaging is different in 2019, but the content's the same. At the end of the day, people in 1921 are people in 2019.
Yep.
Can we move on to the second book?
Absolutely.
I feel like a book reviewer.
That's all right. That's fine. Right. It's good that you're changing it up a bit there.
Wine, red book. It's got a good feel to it, doesn't it? Yeah. So, could I ask you, this second book, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg.
Yep.
The Power of Habit. Tell me why you picked this book. You could have picked thousands of books, but you decided to come with this book.
Yep.
This book, and the last one, which we're going to talk about in a second. Why did you pick The Power of Habit?
Because everything that we do in business and in our relationships can fall into habit, right? What you do with the content that you bring to your viewers daily, not just weekly on rants and all that, is to jolt them into examining their habits. You said go into a cafe tomorrow, right? Now that's part of their habit. It might be just to go in and get a cup of coffee, but you said no, let's do something else while we're there.
I like that.
They're doing something else.
Yes.
By taking what they would normally do, which is going in and getting a cup of coffee.
This guy's smart. He's read the bloody book. He talks about stacking on a habit. You're already doing that habit. So what do? You're going to the cafe. Let's add another thing onto that.
Yes. Was that 155 decibels?
You tell me.
Don't laugh. It's not funny. Okay, don't laugh. The power of habit, yes.
By the way, have you noticed that I don't use the F word as much?
Told him not to.
Okay.
I love you.
Okay, the power of habit. So, by the way, the Sunday night rant is a habit. It has been going on now for 5 years, and I've got to say to you, Susan gave me my stats on Friday. We got number 1 on Facebook in the world. You saw the actual post. In the world, socially engaged. We only have 25 million in Australia people to work with, but we're number 1 in the world. Why? Because we have made content creation and content curation a habit. We do not ask you to buy every time we post something. We don't say buy something. What we do is we add value, right? Anyway, tell me why you like this book.
I like it because what it does is it uses...
You picked that wine, by the way.
It's a pretty good wine.
That's a good wine. Can I ask you...
Has it messed with you a little bit, do you think?
No, 100%. Can I ask you this question?
You can.
How much is a bottle of wine?
That's a very rude question.
Do you believe that asking...
Can I tell you that wine
Yes.
is beyond... It's priceless. You know why? Because it resulted in this. Free flow of communication, friends getting together, talking, ideas... That bottle of wine is thousands of dollars.
Pepper Jack, certified.
It's got to be the certified C.
Sunday night rants are an institution.
Thank you, John. He's the man. He's the man. We do habits because we follow certain cues. If those cues are there, alter them. Going to the cafe with the open for inspection sign and your laptop, and do something slightly different which will break that habit and add value to your customers and to your business.
Boys, come around here. Come around and see the lads. Come around here. Come around here. Don't move. Don't move.
Moving.
Come around here. So, what do we got here?
It's important.
What do we got here? Peter Torek. He was an Inner West agent I used to auction for at Rozelle, Gerard McCarthy's office, and Peter Torek decided that he would come to the Blue Mountains and chill out. And then, let's bring the next guy in, Alan Gregory.
Yeah, come on.
Come on over here.
How you going?
There's Alan. By the way, Alan's the principal of Ray White Blackheath. Smashing office as one. Ray White's always give out the Director's Award, and what year did you win it?
Can't remember now. A few years ago.
Won it, but anyway, he is an English guy from Luton, and I got to tell you, he must be a good agent because my auntie said that she uses him. You know my auntie, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. Anyway,
Pass
they're the
auntie
boys.
test.
Ray White Blackheath. Okay, that's a bit of a flex as well. Thank you so much, lads. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so gang. Anyway, so let's move on to. Oh, by the way, can I tell you? I did read this book.
Yep.
I've read this book. Can I tell you what I learned out of this book?
Tell us.
Here's a very golden rule. Listen to this, guys. Never go 2 days. Never go 2 days. 2 days breaking a habit. If you screw up once,
I've got to say hello to Frank. He used to buy a long black from me. That's where was his coffee. Long blacks. He was a long black drinker. Ask me how I remember that. That's over 5 or 6 years ago. Ray White, Dulwich Hill. Frankie. Go Frank. One of the best property managers in the Inner West.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you drink coffee?
I do.
What do you have?
Depends. In the morning, I'll have a piccolo,
Yes.
piccolo latte. I also like drinking just a short black espresso.
How many coffees do you have a day?
No more than 4.
You sleep well?
No.
Not a good sleeper?
Oh, well, you know.
Struggle?
Well, I'm always thinking. It's the problem.
Okay.
It's a problem.
Okay. Can we move on? But by the way, never go 2 days breaking a habit. Why? Because it basically says I'm moving away from this behavior, right? So guys and girls, let me just say to you a few tips on habit creation that come to my mind. Number one, make sure that whatever habit you actually choose to adopt is one that is sustainable and you don't hate. By the way, never do things you hate. When you do things you hate, you feel upset and angry. They're not sustainable. They require this whole willpower and grind all the time. So I say, pick things that you don't mind doing. You don't have to love them, but if you actually make them, like brushing your teeth, they're actually going to be easier down the track. And I've got to tell you, everything is hard before it's easy. And habit basically says that things that you don't like and are uncomfortable slowly over a period of time become hardwired. And you get used to them, man. I've got to tell you, brushing your teeth is an example of one. Having showers, the way you drive to work. People don't sit there and put into their GPS unit, how do I get to work? They're on automatic pilot, and whether it's a thought or whether it's a behavior, and I can tell you both those things, you can have habits of thought, you can have habits of behavior, you can actually, in fact, make prospecting a habit. And I can tell you, if you spent 9 to 11 o'clock every day for the next 30 days sitting there on the phone chasing business, that would become so much easier at the end of the 30 days. Can we move on to this book?
Before we do, neuroplasticity was another thing where the brain actually changes physically. They've seen this through sophisticated imagery of the brain, imaging of the brain, that if you do something often enough, the brain alters the way it fires, the synapses fire in the brain. It's extraordinary stuff.
Well, that's not going to surprise me at all, Con, because I can see even someone training for a marathon. Doesn't the body adjust?
Absolutely.
Even someone lifting weights. Doesn't the body adjust?
Absolutely.
Right? So, yeah. Okay.
My hearing has adjusted here this evening. It's sort of adjusting, but not quite fast enough. I miss you too, Frank.
That's funny.
No, Frank is a good guy.
Let's move on to the next book. This one here. The Optimism Bias.
By Taylor Sharot. Yep.
Have you read this book?
Yes, I have.
Do you like this book?
I like it.
Why?
I'll tell you why. In a nutshell, this says optimism sells and that we have a general tendency naturally towards optimism, which is counterintuitive because people think, things are terrible, aren't they horrible? That we feel that we're naturally pessimistic. We're not. We're in actual fact wired.
Right.
We're physically wired for optimism, not for pessimism. Pessimism is something that comes in as a it's like a gremlin in our thought processes, to put it in the most simplest of ways. In other words, I want to be optimistic about things that I've just bought. I want to be optimistic that things are going to get better.
And if I've gone to the Melbourne Cup and back number 2, I want to think it's going to win.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right. Now, the problem is that once you've taken ownership in buying, let's say, okay, let's use this example. Let's use these 2 wines. 2 wines. We haven't consumed both bottles as yet. I have decided to purchase this wine. Once I take it home, I become optimistic that this wine will be a really, really good wine because I've made the choice. I've committed myself. I start to forget about the wine that I didn't purchase. So it's all here. It's all great. It's all fantastic. Wow. And I have it. And then 20 or 30 minutes later, it's breathing. It's doing everything that a wine is meant to do. It's returning the level of enjoyment that I expected from it.
Yeah.
Okay. If, however, I felt that I was coerced into purchasing this bottle of wine.
Yes.
That you put the hard sell on me at the shop.
Yes. That I manipulated
That you manipulated me in some way and I take it home. Right? I will initially have some pessimism about this. It's an interesting thing. Remember, I've taken ownership of this bottle, but I didn't really take ownership of the processes that were involved in purchasing it. In other words, you, salesman you, sold me this bottle of wine.
Me, commission breath me.
Commission breath you, sold me this bottle of wine. I open it, and then I think to myself, wow, you know what? It's not too bad. So, the question that I know you're going to ask me, Tom, is am I generally a pessimist or an optimist? With all sorts of things like life, business, and all the rest of it. I have to say to you, here and now, that I am probably a short-term pessimist and a long-term optimist.
A short-term pessimist and a long-term optimist.
And what I mean by that is, as I open this bottle of wine, there is a moment where I think, this could be terrible. This wine's not going to be that good. I stuck with it. I know I went with this. Maybe I should have gone with the other one. It's that buyer's regret, all that kind of thing. And then once I have it, that pessimism leaves me because I'm naturally wired for optimism. Unless, of course, the product is absolute rubbish. If it's rubbish, it's rubbish. You cannot polish rubbish.
Well, I'm going to leave you on this point, and I believe what you just said there is validated by the world that we live in today, because things aren't too bad. No. We've made progress.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
We've made progress. I mean, there are illnesses that were incurable.
Yep.
People were starving.
Yes.
They're saying by the year 2030, no one on the planet is going to starve. We've made great inroads.
Yes, we have.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you were pessimistic, you would not have moved anywhere.
Correct.
Correct?
There would be absolute inertia. I'd be paralysed. Because that's that sort of analysis paralysis. Oh my God, it's terrible. Oh, the sky's... Even with this stuff, I know it's going to get a bit topical now, when they were going on about these bushfires, it's catastrophic. Look, I know it was horrific. But up here, in this region, it really affected a lot of people because they thought that we were going to burn to death. Leave now. And so I understand that. I really understand that that the media had to do that and had to put that across to people. But people up here thought, really? Are we really going to burn? No, we're going to be optimistic about this. And, yeah.
But don't forget, the media is going to tell you about the one plane that didn't land properly,
yes,
not the 77,000 that landed
properly.
properly.
Absolutely, I understand.
The media is going to tell you about the one teacher that involved in pedophilia behaviour, not the 2 million teachers that did the job properly, right?
Absolutely.
Misery sells, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
But could you imagine the news coverage where every story was positive and optimistic and feel good?
Well, I can tell you, as someone that's come from the world of media, that there was an experiment done in a part of Australia where they would run positive stories, and what happened is people stopped buying the paper.
Yeah.
So there appears to be a correlation that misery sells.
Yeah, unfortunately it does.
Guys and girls, if you found the content useful, please press a share button. If you believe, I'm going to give it a try. Like my father used to do.
Yep.
I'm going to get the brush, right?
Yep.
And do the lather.
I'll set you up with a gear.
Right? You're going to set me up?
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, hit him up. The stray whisker with, and he's got one there. He's got one there. The stray whisker. We'll put it. Susan, do us a favour. And by the way, I don't want any free product, right?
No.
So Susan, do us a favour. I'll text you because I'm not around. Put his link in the comments.
I think that may already have occurred. I think
and
so.
Susan, by the way, Susan was in the Blue Mountains for the last 3 days, and I got here when she left. What a coincidence! And we
real coincidence. Susan may have heard something.
Susan came to the Blue Mountains. Anyway, guys, signing off here. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much, by the way.
Absolute pleasure.